Before 2008, I was living a life that many people dreamed of. I was a financial professional in Hong Kong with a stable job and a generous income. I had a loving wife and a 3-year-old son. We lived in a high-end apartment in Kowloon, and life was carefree. Every evening when I came home from work, my wife would have a hot meal prepared, and my little son would run into my arms, calling me Daddy, with a big smile on his face. It felt like I was the happiest man in the world. However, life is unpredictable. The 2008 financial crisis hit like a sudden storm, completely shattering my life. The company I worked for went bankrupt, and all my investments, stocks and real estate, were wiped out in the market crash and property decline. Overnight, I lost not only my job and wealth but also faced mounting debts and pressure from the banks. I found myself with nothing and unable to afford my son's school fees or even cover daily expenses. Seeing the worry on my wife's face and the helplessness in my son's eyes, I felt an overwhelming sense of despair. To make ends meet, I started looking for any work I could find. But during the recession, as companies downsized and opportunities vanished, even finding a temporary job became nearly impossible. I wandered the streets every day, submitting resumes, but I was met with rejection after rejection. As our savings dwindled, the pressure of daily life only grew. My wife, in an effort to help, took on multiple part-time jobs, but the exhaustion and fatigue on her face broke my heart. I knew that if I continued like this, I might lose everything that truly mattered. One day, as I walked past a Cha Chan Teng, a local cafe, I noticed a sign in the window, hiring dishwasher. In that moment, I felt a deep struggle within me. I was once a professional, wearing a suit and working in an office. Now, I was reduced to applying for the lowest level job. But thinking of my wife and son at home, I gathered my courage and walked into the cafe. I told the owner, I'd like to apply for the dishwashing job. The owner looked at me, dressed in my old suit and looking weary, and sighed. "All right, come in tomorrow morning," he said. From the next day, I became a dishwasher at the cafe. I had to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning to get ready for work. The job was tough. My hands were constantly in cold water, and after long hours, they would start to crack and bleed. But whenever I thought about my wife and son back home, I gritted my teeth and carried on. The cafe owner noticed my dedication and sometimes gave me extra pay or let me take home leftover food, which was a great help to us at the time. After a few months, I became familiar with the cafe's work, and I built a friendship with the owner. One day, he asked, "I can tell you're hardworking. What did you do before this?" I gave him a bitter smile and told him my story. He listened quietly and then said, "Don't lose hope. The crisis will pass. As long as you're still standing, there's a chance for a comeback." His words struck a chord in me, reigniting my determination. From that day on, I didn't just wash dishes, I also started learning how to cook from the chef. I figured that if I could acquire a new skill, I wouldn't be stuck in this low-level job forever. The chef saw my eagerness to learn and taught me basic cooking techniques. Gradually, I transitioned from being a dishwasher to an assistant cook. With my new role as an assistant cook, my income improved slightly, and life at home became a bit more manageable. Although we were still struggling, whenever I returned home to see my wife's smile slowly return and my son running happily into my arms, I felt an immense sense of fulfillment. After working at the cafe for a year, I had saved up a small amount of money. One day, while walking through the streets, I saw a small shop for rent. It wasn't in the best location, but the rent was affordable. An idea sparked in my mind, maybe I could open a small eatery and become my own boss. The idea was simple, but putting it into action was challenging. I invested all my savings into the shop, and my wife supported me, helping manage the place while taking care of our son. Though the shop was small, I put my all into making the best of the cooking skills I had learned. The cafe owner also came by to offer advice on running the business. In the beginning, customers were few and far between, and we barely made enough to survive. But I didn't give up. I studied the competition in the area and noticed that there wasn't a place specializing in traditional Hong Kong snacks. I decided to focus on classic dishes like fish ball noodles, pork chop buns, and stir-fried noodles, making sure each dish was of the highest quality. Slowly but surely, word of mouth began to spread, and more customers came to our little shop. Our small eatery, once empty, became a bustling place. Seeing the increasing number of smiling faces in our shop gave me hope for the future. Years later, my small eatery grew into a chain. We opened several locations not only in Hong Kong but also expanded to other areas. My life had returned to stability, and happiness had returned to my family. My wife's smile was back, and our son excelled in school. Today, as I stand outside the door of our first shop, watching the staff work hard inside, I reflect on all the hardships and efforts of the past years with gratitude. I know that although the financial crisis took everything I had, it also allowed me to rediscover myself. It taught me that the most valuable things in life are not wealth but family and the perseverance to never give up. Now, I have achieved my goal of rebuilding my life. I am no longer the man who lost everything and felt hopeless. I own a thriving restaurant business, and I've rebuilt a loving and happy family. This journey from despair to success will always remind me, no matter how tough life gets, as long as you don't give up, there's always a chance to rise again.